Hey guys, welcome back to Geek and Plunder. As I've stated many times in previous videos, I am a bit of a gamer. I think that is an understatement. And I've been playing games for a long time. My first ever gaming experience dates back to an Atari. The neighbor's kid had an Atari and I went over to play it, and we were playing soccer with just two stick figures. And I'm not talking about Pong, it was some type of soccer game. But it was fun, it was what we had back in the day, and it was interactive TV. Now we should not underestimate the power of interactiveness back in those times. I'm not going to date myself. I'm not going to give you an approximation of when that was, please. Now, however, I have been following the trends for forever. Like every new console that came out, I needed to play it, not own it, because, well, they were expensive. But there were places where you could just kind of play these games. We had a toy store in our village where you could play the Nintendo, the NES, for 20 Belgian francs. I think that's half a euro for an hour or something. That's what we would do every Wednesday afternoon when we didn't have school. Me and a few buddies would go down there and play Super Mario, Turtles, Mega Man. So many games, so many fun memories. As I grew up, of course, I had more means to buy the consoles myself. And the fun thing is, when I got older, I bought all of those old consoles that I could not own. And now I have all of them stacked on the attic, because I don't have the space to put them out. That being said, I still kind of miss those games. And if you play them on PC, it's just not the same thing. I kind of like handheld consoles. I used to have a Game Boy. I even had the Game Gear, the ones that Sega made. And now we have the Switch, of course. And the Steam Deck. Come on, look at this beauty. But I still kind of miss those retro games. And sure, you can get some on the Switch, but it's not the same thing. But recently, my brother-in-law gave me this one as a gift. That was also one of the first consoles I ever played, at least the Game & Watch series back in the day. It had the first ever Mario or Donkey Kong games. I used to own a few of them, and I think some of them are still on the attic. But this one is kind of special, look at this. It's in color. But actually it's Mario Bros, the original NES game that is running on here. It's just an emulator in the shape of a Game & Watch console. Which is fun, I was charmed by this. It kind of got me back to that time. Listen to the music. Listen to those sounds, it just brings back memories. But anyways, this is a little device that you can charge, so that got me kind of thinking. That's interesting, and I started researching if there were any other devices that did this. And then I bumped into this little fella. The Powkiddy. I know, it sounds kind of funny. I posted a picture on my Instagram where I just showed the box and told people I got a new toy, and everybody was like, yeah, that's a beautiful box, dude. But it's actually what is inside that is so important. Now I have this little camera set up here that I'm going to switch on to give you a better view of what is inside the box. Yeah, this is a dual camera show now. Progress. Let me start out with showing you that you have 3 color variants of this device, and I got the white one. I'm going to explain in a minute why. But let's open this up. This is what is inside. These are stickers that you can put on the console, a little manual, and then this is what we're talking about. And this is the Powkiddy. It is a small emulator console that resembles a Game Boy somewhat, although it has a lot more buttons. And when I say a lot more buttons, look at this face. It's just full, and then you have the back where you have the triggers. So for one, it is well equipped, and second, it is a bit of an ergonomic nightmare. Don't expect to play this for hours on end and not getting cramps in your wrists. Is that a thing, getting cramps in your wrists? So those little stickers, you can put them on there, which I'm not going to do, but it looks nice. You have 2 sticks, and they have all kinds of buttons. And this one makes a little face. This is the speaker, which goes loud enough. You have 2 SD slots. This one is for the games, and on the other side you have one that runs the system. Now in my case, there's a 128 gig SD card in there to put games on. You have the on and off button, a reset button, toggle for volume, and then it charges with this USB-C port. I have no freaking clue what this port does, and this is an audio jack. So it's a well-equipped little device. The fun thing about this device is, if you get it, in most cases, it will be stacked with 15 to 20,000 old school games, retro games. The games that I used to play as a kid. The NES, the Master System, the Megadrive, or the Genesis in the States. Neo Geo, even some arcade games. All on this small device. And like I said, you won't be playing it for hours, but you'll pick it up pretty often to just play a game of Sonic. Maybe you want to do a session of Echo the Dolphin. Who remembers that PlayStation game? I don't. One thing I have to say though, the screen gets dirty pretty fast. I just unboxed it and already my fingers are all over it. And I do not have greasy fingers. Alright, let's switch it on and have a look. The whole operating system is open source. There's a lot of stuff happening that I do not understand or do not care about. But there we go. It took me a total of 10 seconds, something like that. And these are all the games that are on there. The arcade classics, Capcom system, Capcom 2, Capcom 3, Naomi. I have no idea what Naomi is. PC Engine. This is Family Computer, which is basically the NES in Japan. The Super Famicom, Super Nintendo in Japan. The NES, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, Megadrive, the American Megadrive, the Genesis, Dreamcast, Neo Geo Pocket, Neo Geo Pocket Color, PlayStation, PSP, and some options. These are just all things that you can set that I prefer not to touch at all. But all of these are just stacked with games. Look at these numbers on the top right corner there. 890 Genesis games, 2,933 Mega Drive games, 3,000 Game Boy games, Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo. Look at these numbers, 4,071 games. At some point I was even thinking, did they make that many games for the NES? I don't remember that. But of course some of them are localized, some of them are just different versions from different regions. But all in all, that is a lot of games. And we did the test. So my girlfriend grew up on those same consoles, even if she's a little younger than I am. And there was one game that was her all-time favorite that she has some really fond memories of, and that is Mr. Nuts. And we could not find it anywhere. Like when I had my collection of retro consoles out, we tried to find the game just for her so she could play it, but we couldn't find it anywhere. On this one, I found like 4 different versions of the game. And now she's been playing it, and she's been enjoying that so much. And we both found games in there that we had fond memories of. The fun thing is I can't keep adding games in case I find others, but I'm not too bothered. I mean, I already have like 15,000 on this. It's fine. I think I'm set for the next few years. And it's nice to know that I have all of these ready. And I can take this with me, and when I get bored, I just pull it out and start playing some games. Now, apart from the ergonomics, there's also the battery. I think you can get about an hour and a half play out of it before the battery dies. You need to be careful. You need to charge it in time, because if it runs out of juice, it doesn't really have the proper fail-safes, and then it needs to reboot completely and whatnot. There's a whole warning on the manual that explains that you just need to charge it in time. When it comes to build quality, it is quite sturdy. The only thing you could comment is, listen to that. Those back buttons, they jiggle a little bit. And I'm pretty sure that the people that are really into these types of consoles would deduct points for stuff like that. But I personally do not care. As long as they don't fall off, I'm completely fine with that. And I think that is just the point. This is a little console that will set you back about, depending on how big the SD card is to store the games on, somewhere between 80 and 100 bucks. Also depending on where you live. I live in Europe. It is sometimes a little more expensive to get stuff down here. But this device is aimed at people like me. People that grew up with these games, that love retro games, but are not going to spend hours playing them. They just want to kind of pick up the device, pick a game, play it for 20 minutes and get bored. And move back to my PC or my Steam Deck and play something different. For those that are really into retro games and already have plenty of those devices, that have other systems to run the ROMs and whatnot, I don't know if this is as interesting. I think for the people that are really into stuff like this, they probably have a few other choices. They would tell you that they don't like this device as much, but that's their problem. For me, this is perfect. And maybe for you too. If you are someone like myself that loves retro games, but doesn't want to break the bank and wants something that is simple, user-friendly, and something you can play for half an hour, 45 minutes. This is the one you need to get. And you have it in orange and in blue. But I kind of like the white better because it reminds me of the Game Boy. Just in case you get one, something I needed to figure out myself, you can store your session on this, which you could not do back in the day. Like if your battery run out, good luck, you have to restart. And you do that by pushing the select button and the right trigger. That will save your state. Pushing the select button and the left trigger will load your latest state. Now if you push the select and start button twice, you'll kind of jump out of a game and go back to the home menu. Something that took me quite a while to figure out, and I just rebooted the whole device over and over again. Just in case you bought one or you're going to buy one, remember that. I mean, I could run over all the games, but that would take way too long. It's 15,000 games. So what I'm going to do is on TikTok, maybe post some movies of my favorite games, show them off, and if you have any requests, let me know in the comments, and if I get around to them, I'll make separate videos of those specific games. So go check that out on TikTok, Geek and Plunder. We're also going to be discussing retro games on the podcast tomorrow. So make sure to check that out on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. But that was it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know in the comments if you would want to buy one of those. But anyways, make sure to subscribe because I'll be back with a new video in 2 weeks. Till then, take care. Bye bye.